I guess we can generally ignore the fact that there's been over 12 months between episode 1 and episode 2. Not that you'd notice, because I uploaded episode 1 yesterday, but I recorded that, like, last September? As in September last year. So we're given free reign of the town now. We need to figure out how to get to Rosewater Park. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. I am the worst person on the planet. So yeah, we're more or less given free reign now of... Well, not free reign of the town, we get to explore this half of the town now. So let's just have a wander around and see what we can see. Something is written on it. Too bad I can't read it because the surface has been rubbed away. Remains of swamp. So this is remains of blood swamp. The X meters of land surrounding this monument was originally swamp, but was later filled in. From long ago, the swamp was nicknamed Blood Swamp because the executioners poured the water used to wash the execution tools in here. Perhaps it's for that reason. Many people seem to have seen ghosts in the area. So Silent Hill has a pretty extensive history that we learn about in this game. From this monument we start to see a lot of the themes that are going to come into play in the story a little more later. But generally, with much of the monument being lost, there's an air of the past being forgotten in some way, I feel. It's been a really long time since I last played this game, so it's not like I really remember exactly where to go. Like, I remember the plot beats and, like, generally the general scenario, but the actual puzzles and the day-to-day routine that you have to go through to get through each part, I don't really remember, so... Wow. I tried to quick turn, but I'm not playing Resident Evil, I'm playing Silent Hill. It's different buttons. You can mostly ignore the enemies out in the open. So this place is pretty blocked, isn't it? Gonzalez Mexican Restaurant. Anything down in this alleyway? Where am I at? Am I by... Yeah, I'm by Happy Burger. Let's go to Neely's Bar and Happy Burger first. Let's see if we can actually get into these places. I don't really remember. I don't think you can get into Happy Burger. But there is a first aid kit. Go on an incredibly spoopy and dangerous tour of the town. Is this Neely's Bar? I think it is. See the camera shifts to let you know that you can actually go in here. There's a map here. And this is actually where you find out now where the game wants you to go. What's that symbol at the end of Martin Street? Copied it onto my own map. And there's the iconic line. There was a hole here. It's gone now. I like to think this being in a bar, it symbolises kind of alcoholism, where you are like this one's definitely up for debate. A lot of this is quite a hotly contested debate in the community, but I like to think since we're in a bar, this is definitely leaning towards alcoholism. That people are drinking to fill a hole in themselves. Or trying to fill the hole in themselves anyway. It kind of suggests that maybe that's what James was doing during his wife's illness and maybe shortly after she died. Keep using the Resident Evil controls for the quick turn. It's a bit more intuitive, I think, than what they have on Silent Hill. So we know where to go now. The game just kind of flat out tells you, but we'll still explore anyway. Because there's bits and pieces to find. Stuff to look at, like big J's. Lucky Jade restaurant, the Chinese restaurant. I think this actually leads to... yeah, this leads to the entrance to the Woodside Apartments, but we don't have the key yet. The door that wakes into darkness, opening into nightmares. Also locked. There's also a debate in the community about who wrote these messages. I think that's kind of a boring debate to have, because if you solved who wrote the messages, the answer would always be completely unsatisfying. I mean, the idea is that all of this stuff is being manifested from James's unconscious mind, right? It doesn't matter who wrote them. No one probably wrote them. They're just manifestations of how he feels and what he's thinking at the time. That's kind of the whole deal of the franchise. Which is one of the reasons, well, I'll say one of, I think it's the major reason why this series is now dead, but we'll get more into that a little bit later on, I think. I have a very strong opinion on why this series is dead, and why it's probably best that it stays dead, but we'll talk about that a bit more later on. Cafe Mist. Just make sure that I find the majority of things. It's going to be a bit of a slow, methodical playthrough. I'm not going to be speeding through it as quickly as I can. It's a pretty short game anyway, so imagine this whole game, if I was playing just going from A to B, it would be about one episode of Final Fantasy VII long. It's not the longest of games. I think the fastest time I've ever beaten it is about 3 hours, 3 hours and 20 minutes, or thereabouts. So as you can see, everywhere we try and go, it's just all blocked. So we'll head down to Saul Street. Because there is a circle around Saul Street, so let's go there first. There's also Neely's Bar's highlighted, but we know about that. Saul Street's highlighted, Woodside Apartments highlighted, Martin Street highlighted. Let's go to Saul Street first. You can just sequence break this part and just go straight to where you need to go if you know what you're doing. Which would be essentially heading to Martin Street and then heading to the Blue Creek Apartments. But this is just all of the hints that the games give you. Because I guess if you're kind of lost, then you will just be running around aimlessly and exploring, and it will just nod you into the direction that you need to go. I guess you could consider these games open world. I kind of don't, because they're a bit too linear for that, and they just lack the majority of the open world design that would make an open world game in my opinion. But I do like how it's just a big open map. And you just kind of have to figure out where to go. So we have a caravan here. What else do we have? A locked gate. Which would actually lead us over to the other side. Okay. There's a memo lying on the sofa. I'll wait at bar Neely's. So that's kind of telling you to go back to Neely's bar. I say back to? This might be the first place that you find. So again, it's just gently nudging you towards the solution. You may just happen upon the solution straight away, and that's fine. That's why they're not putting really, really important items kind of off the beaten path like this. You get rewarded for exploration, but it's not like mandatory or anything. You don't get punished for not completely exploring all of the areas, which I quite like. One of my problems I have with games is the kind of map design where you don't want to go the right way. When you find out that you're going the right way, you kind of turn around and go the other direction because you don't want to miss anything. Whereas on this game, it doesn't really matter if you find the right way first, because you're not really going to miss that much. You might miss some, like, Easter eggs, you know, some lore, stuff like that. That just makes the game more replayable to me. Like, I didn't find everything on my first playthrough. It took many, many playthroughs before I saw everything. Which is fine if the game is really short like this. For a really long game, I don't know, I don't like that as much. I'm also missing a bit of a tutorial. There's some notes on the floor somewhere. Okay, I need to talk about this dude, so let's kill you. If you'll stop moving. Okay, that's dead. Just so I can hear myself think, because while this place is called Silent Hill, it's pretty loud. So this dead body stands out a little bit more. If you look at the clothes and look a bit more closely, it gives away a lot more that these corpses are actually James. This is James's character model. Because James wants to die, and the town, it's taking these thoughts from his unconscious and showing it to him bright as day here. He's also holding the apartment gate key. But James, he won't comment on it. He refuses to acknowledge it. Like, to him, this will be obvious, right? That these are him, these corpses are him, but he just can't see it. He won't acknowledge it. Because he's still very delusional at this point. Just had to make sure that this is actually recording. Ever since the Final Fantasy II thing, I'm really paranoid. So we can head straight to the Woodside Apartments, but I just want to have a quick look to see if these notes are around. Which gives us more opportunity to just take in the atmosphere a little bit. Also, I missed a health drink. I thought that was a pumpkin then. I don't think the notes are over here, but I don't entirely remember where they are. It's not massively overly important or anything, but for the sake of completion. I don't really remember. It's just start heading towards the apartment building. Which is our first Zelda dungeon of the game. I love how twitchy the enemies are. It's very much a Jacob's Ladder kind of reference. Well, not really a reference, it's just inspired by. There's a lot of there's a lot of Jacob's Ladder in Silent Hill 2. I mean, look at what James is wearing. So I'm not going to find it, but essentially you find these notes that tell you about the monsters and that it's better to run away from them than fight them a lot of the time. And it's kind of from two people. There's notes by a dead body. And it's kind of just explaining that two people can be right in front of something, but they'll both be seeing different things. So it's bringing back this concept of different people's perception, bringing different things to them. But you know, as a psychologist, it's really important to understand that you know, your perception of something might be completely different than someone else's perception of the exact same thing. Obviously, it's a bit more exaggerated for horror in this game, but I mean, it is a real thing. And it is important to realise that. Not even as a psychologist, just in daily life. You'll understand people a lot more when you understand that things have different meanings to different people. Not everybody thinks the same. I love that immediate silence. Like the first game, they really know when to turn the sound off to kind of throw you off. I do really like it. Even though it makes no sense because we've crossed over a gate. It's not like we've walked into a building or anything. But it works. It works for the surreal atmosphere. So this is the apartment complex, the Woodside Apartments. So, yeah, there's Woodside Apartments and Blue Creek Apartments next to each other. You go into both. I think you start at the Woodside Apartments. Garbage. No use for that. And straight away we get the map. I just love how unnaturally quiet everything is. I also noticed we don't have our flashlight yet either. I love the atmosphere of this place before you get the flashlight. Like, the imagery of this game is just so cool. It's so well framed, especially at this part. Like with the lighting. There's a trash chute. There's some kind of garbage stuck in the hole. So this is just such a good shot. You'll notice here that this dresser's doll, it's wearing Mary's clothes. If we look at our picture of Mary, she's wearing her clothes, which is just a nice little detail. Also, there's a spooky thing on the other side, which you can probably guess what's going to happen next. Got these leggy girls here, these mannequin monsters. So a lot of the monsters are sexualized in this game, but we'll talk about that a little later when it becomes a little more relevant. You may notice it's a little provocative, the design of that monster. And now we've got our flashlight, so we can actually read the map. I always used to really hate that sound that they make when they crawl and skitter around. Come on, James, do the thing. Thank you. Got more handgun bullets. What we don't have yet is a handgun. Nothing in here. So, we've got damage. It actually shows up on the screen now when you get damaged. Or at least when you're near death. More handgun bullets. See again the visuals of this game. It's just, that's such a good shot right there. Just wait for him to come to us. Eventually we get a gun, and that'll be useful for us. No, that was completely pointless because both of those locks are broken. So while it's still better, as you've noticed, just to run away from the enemies, it's kind of harder to do now. We're in these tight corridors now, these tight hallways. That deep rumbling bass is just so good. Like the first game, I don't know if these sounds are diegetic or not. It's easier to think that in Silent Hill 2, given the staging of the game, that maybe it is diegetic. Maybe it's not coming from the environment though. I go back and forth on this, but I wonder if this is what James is actually hearing inside his head, inside his mind. What's this? Henry, Mildred, and Scott. There's writing on the clock. The scars from the past shall remove the nail that stops time. No matter how hard I push, it doesn't move. It's like it's stuck to the ground. So each of these lines, it represents the hands of a clock. So the answer is 9:10, but we can't change it yet, not until we can open the clock face up. Also, the scars of the past. It's pretty on the nose, that one, isn't it? This note? It must have been from the person who lived here. 3 needles stand on 3 different heights. The fat, the tall, and the thin. From slow to fast they move to the right. Scott rests not on 3, but 15. So there's the answer to your puzzle. Well, there's the riddle, anyway. Yeah, again, the sound design of this game is just... it's incredible. Just how it layers on top. Just layers upon layers of spooky ambience. It's not satisfied with just having some spooky ambience. You need to just keep building it up over time. And then it just stops again. Gives you a little spook and then stops. Because it doesn't want that pressure to be released with it, like a jump scare or really anything. It just wants that pressure to just keep building. So I guess we're heading up to the 3rd floor now? I This this sound used to creep me out so much. Still does a bit. I used to have to, like the first time I played this, I used to have to stop playing after short bursts after this because the atmosphere would just get right on top of me. And I just couldn't take it. Again, it begs the question if this is all diegetic sound or if this is something James is hearing in his mind. Or if it's just here for our benefit, if you can call it a benefit. There's a key on the ground the other side of the bars. If I stretch my arm out, I might just be able to reach it.
Ow!
Ha ha.
Hey, wait! Damn it.
No more key. Who was that kid? If only James had some kind of, kind of implement that he could have used to reach the key more easily. Some sort of elongated board that could have helped him out. Not to be, I guess. I used to call this the breathing hallway. Can you guess why? So we got a handgun in a shopping cart. So a lot of people like to wax political about this scene. I kind of don't. People say it's some sort of message about how you can just, just buy a gun in the US. I don't know. I'm not really feeling that, to be honest. I don't really feel that Silent Hill has much political to say. I do like how much ceremony is given to the gun, though. Like with all these empty shell casings everywhere and all these shot marks on the wall. It does make you wonder, like, what the hell happened in this room? Like a whole room dedicated just to getting the handgun. It's really cool. Ammo's going to be a problem for a little while, so we won't use it just yet. Is this everything up here? What am I missing? I feel like I'm definitely missing something then. Bunch of locked rooms. Hmm. I haven't picked up any keys or anything. What was that? Some kind of noise north of here. So I was kind of pretending that I didn't know that was going to happen. I really like how, especially if you played the first game, you'll kind of be thinking at that point, like, well, I've been everywhere it will let me go now. So then you kind of backtrack to see if you've missed anything, and it gives you another little spook that you weren't expecting. And it's interesting how they did that kind of scream or cry. It's kind of layered and blended. So you only hear one or the other. It's a man's scream overlaid kind of somehow with a baby's cry. And talking to people, they tend to hear either one or the other. Like, I'm not entirely sure how they do something like that, but it's very effective. It opened up a lot of discussions on the Silent Hill forums back in the day. It's a lot of work for 2 seconds of gameplay. That's just that's kind of the development team we're dealing with here. Let's see what happened over here. Here he is! It's the boy! The iconic triangle lad! Absolutely no ceremony to his reveal whatsoever, he's just kind of there, which is amazing, I think. Considering the impact this guy has had on this franchise, for better and for worse. I love how his actual introduction is just kinda, oh hey. Also, if you turn off your torch, he glows, which I don't really understand why, but it's definitely creepy. So we're going to be going into a lot of detail about him later, but what's under that helmet anyway? Who knows? Masahiro Ito won't ever tell you, which is good, because if he did, it would ruin it forever. All we know is that that's not his actual head. They say in the making of the documentary that that's actually his head, it's not a helmet, but Ito confirmed that that's a mistranslation. There is something under that helmet, but we're never going to find out what it is, either way. And either way is creepy. So things have changed again.
Oh my god. Who could have?
It's James again. He's dead. Who could have done this? Wait, is that foreshadowing? Oh, Silent Hill, you cheeky. Got the key to room 202. Which I guess is where we're heading next then. Again, just amazing, amazing shots. It must be really hard to do cinematography like this without like complete fixed camera angles like what Resident Evil uses. I also love how the moths will fly towards your light when you turn it on. It's really cool. So there's lots of butterflies or moths or whatever they're meant to be in this room. I assume moths with the way they behave. Coincidence that Maria has a tattoo of a butterfly on her tummy? Probably not. Is anything? Is anything in these games a coincidence? The sound effect is creepy too. Another one of those sounds that just has no explanation whatsoever about what it is or where it's coming from. It's actually piano wire being struck, I think, and slowed down a ton. Like, I have this sound effect. I have almost all of the sound effects. It's from a sound library that you can buy called Omnisphere. It's an absolute goldmine as well. Like, a lot of the Fiddler's Wood soundtrack that I made last year was made with this library. Like, everyone, they really enjoy to massively overanalyze the sounds. Lots of attempts to figure out what the whispers and everything like that means. Like, you know, to figure out what people are saying and what all of these sounds represent, but nope. Sorry. Akira didn't make every single solitary sound in this game. They used sound libraries as well. Like, they're not they're not that insane to not use libraries for a lot of these sound effects. But let's stick our hand in the squidgy hole, because why wouldn't you, right? It's too dark to tell for sure, but I think there's something on the other side of the hole. Of course you'd stick your hand in the squidgy hole. We got the clock key. So now we can go unlock the clock face and solve that puzzle. Now that I think of it, there was a big clock in room 208. Anything else we got to inspect? Nope. The creakiest clock known to man. I mean, the answer's 10 past 9, so why is it not? There we go. So now we should be able to move the clock. Which brings us to 209. And it goes deathly silent again. creepy sometimes, the sound. But it's so subdued and in the background you can barely hear it. It's just enough for your brain to notice it. Like you might not even know why you're feeling tense. It's just enough just to get in there and make you tense up a little bit. Like the sound design on this game is immaculate. So I'm not sure that scene is a direct reference to Blue Velvet, but there is a scene in that film that's very eerily similar where Jeffrey is inside of a closet, just like that, watching some pretty disturbing things happening between Dorothy and Frank. There's definitely some influence there, I think. By which I mean kind of like David Lynch in general. Like out of all the influences the team have had, I think David Lynch is one of the most prevalent ones. Take the siren, for example, you know, the iconic siren that signifies the otherworld taking over reality. There's a musical play called Industrial Symphony No. 1 that kind of feels like a nightmare to watch. I can't even really explain it, it's just something you need to see for yourself. And it is up on YouTube if you do want to watch it, but there's a sequence that takes place where the characters are in this industrial area filled with steam and smoke. And there's hospital gurneys all over the place, and in the background, there's an air raid siren going off the whole time, which may sound pretty familiar to you at this point. And there's already a whole lot of Eraserhead and Twin Peaks, of course, in here too. So I don't think it would be ridiculous to say that the scene we just saw in some way was somewhat influenced by Blue Velvet, even just a little bit. Is it a huge coincidence that Lynch is also a huge proponent of exploring the unconscious mind through transcendental meditation? And that his work is generally about extreme opposites and exposing the darkness within so that it can be confronted and understood? Like, I'm not going to go into detail about all this because we're talking about Silent Hill and not Blue Velvet, but you can, and I do, read Blue Velvet to be about the same kind of themes as Silent Hill. It's like David Lynch's version of The Wizard of Oz. And isn't it weird how The Wizard of Oz just keeps coming up? It's a really deep and incredible story that a lot of people just kind of write off as this kid's thing. And after I'm done indoctrinating you, it might be worth going back and giving it a watch. I think you'll have a very different experience with that film, with an understanding of the kind of things that I'm talking about in like the previous Silent Hill playthrough and this one. So we've seen the triangle friend over there, like, doing a harass on one of the mannequin monsters. A lot of people like to say that he's raping them, and for the longest time it was unanimously decided that that's what he's doing, but I don't know, you can rewind and watch it again. I've seen this scene about 600 times now and I can't see it. I can't see that that's what's happening. That's not what's actually depicted. It definitely looks like he's harassing them in some way, but I can't see the rape angle myself. And at the end of the day, that is what the developers said. The developers have even said that's not what's happening, so I think the whole scene is framed in a way where you witness the situation and only have a brief period of time to really kind of reconcile what's even going on. And with the design of the creatures being so feminine, and the way that Pyramid Head looks and acts, I think it's easy to look at that and assume the worst. Kind of like a creepy, messed up Rorschach test. There is another scene that kind of gives off the implication that that's what's going on though. Like, don't get me wrong, the implication is definitely there, especially considering what Pyramid Head represents in the grand scheme of things. It's just interesting to me that the developers seem to be quite adamant that that's not what's happening, but the implication is definitely there. So James has witnessed all this, and as Pyramid Head comes over and starts taking a good look at him, James opens fire. Obviously out of fear and self-preservation, but also because while he doesn't realise this yet, while James doesn't realise this yet, Pyramid Head is a mirror of James. He represents his desire for punishment of what he's done. And he also represents a whole lot of other things as well. But right now, James is still kind of protecting himself from the darkest parts of his personality. His conscious mind is still protecting the ego, and isn't willing to hear the unconscious out just yet. Specifically, the ego is blocking out the id. The id being the Freudian concept referring to the aspect of the self that dwells deep within the unconscious, that is responsible for all of our base desires. That's a whole thing we need to get into, but for now, let's just carry on playing the game. Oh, you're out here somewhere. Where you at? How many handgun bullets do I have now? 50. Yeah, you don't get a lot. It's not like the first game. He's in there. I can hear him. See if we can just avoid him. Grab what we gotta get and leave. I don't think there's anything even in this room. Not gonna fight things if I don't have to. Got the fire escape key. Can't quite make out the graffiti, but I'm sure it's all references to something. Like the first game, all of the things you see dotted around on the walls, they're generally references to something that the developers like. Well, that actually leads back down, so we don't want to go that way yet. do we? I think we do want to go that way, actually. Because we can head down to... Yeah, we can head down to the first floor now. We have the 2 keys necessary for it. No second floor for us, though. So I believe this leads back outside. Yep. It's just a quick shortcut now to get between the 2 different wings of the apartment building. Of course, you got that awesome level design that was invented by Dark Souls 10 years after this game. I got some canned juice. This is probably the weirdest puzzle in like the entire franchise, which I'll explain once we solve it. A heavy 6-pack of expired canned juice. It was in the hallway on the first floor. Looks like it's apple juice. Oop, almost fell in. We just need to grab this coin and then leave. We got the snake coin. Exit quickly. Then we'll inspect it. Large coin imprinted with a snake. I found it in that pool with no water. So we got this coin. The text around the outside, that actually does mean something, but I never really looked into it. The people that go really hard with these games that will inspect like every single little thing and try and find meaning in every single tiny little aspect of the game. They're always interesting to watch, but I think they do go a bit over the top with it. Almost to the point where they hold the developers with like such reverence that they're barely even human. Like sometimes a thing's just a thing. Welcome to Silent Hill! Silent Hill, a quiet little lakeside resort town. We're happy to have you. Take some time out of your busy schedules and enjoy a nice restful vacation here. Row after row of quaint old houses, a gorgeous mountain landscape, and a lake which shows different sides of beauty with the passing of the day from sunrise to late afternoons to sunset. Silent Hill will move you and fill you with a feeling of deep peace. I hope your time here will be pleasant and your memories will last forever. Silent Hill will move you and fill you with a feeling of deep peace. If you listen to what it has to say, maybe. Probably not in the way that you think, though. Of course, I'm not saying the guys that look really deep into this game are at all wrong. I mean, I have my own interpretation of it. I'm not saying my interpretation's correct, or even more relevant than theirs. It's all subjective at the end of the day. That's the beauty of art. Art is subjective. like, just to finish what I'm saying, like, I'm not even saying that what I am talking about in these games is at all intentional. You know, the esoteric Jungian concepts. I think it is intentional personally from like interviews with them. They know exactly what they're doing. They seem to know too much about it for it not to be at least semi-intentional. Maybe not to the level that I understand it. What I'm saying is, intentional or not, themes are themes. And it's really cool that there's so many different interpretations of the same 4 to 6 hour long experience. Whether they're correct or not. Right, let's find out what this horrible, disgusting noise is coming from.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Do what?
I didn't do anything. I swear. He was like this when I got here.
My name's James. James Sunderland.
Eddie.
Eddie. Who's that dead guy in the kitchen?
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill anybody.
You're not friends with that red pyramid thing, are you?
Red pyramid thing? I don't know what you're talking about. Honest. But I did see some weird looking monsters. They scared the hell out of me, so I ran in here.
Well, I guess this place isn't too safe either. What happened here anyway?
I told you, I don't know. I'm not even from this town. I just...
You too, huh? Something just brought you here, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, whatever it is, I think you better get out of here soon.
Yeah, you're right. What about you?
I'll leave as soon as I'm done here. Eddie, be careful.
James, you be careful too.
He seems like a trustworthy kind of guy, doesn't he? That's the guy that we were talking about? What the... Who could have done this? Not much to talk about with Eddie right now. To be honest, but...
Eddie, are you okay?
Yeah, I guess.
But he's only talking like a guilty person. The wall is covered with football posters and meaningless graffiti. I couldn't care less about either of them. Well, you should, James, because this is really relevant to the plot. This whole room is covered in football stuff and like insults on the wall. Which is all very relevant to Eddie. But again, we'll talk more about Eddie later. Don't really need to talk about it right now. But there's a lot of environmental storytelling like that. It's really important to pay attention to the environments to kind of get the subtext. Now it's unlocked. Right, which side are we on? So this should lead us up to the second floor. Don't think it goes up as high as the third floor, this one. I mean, it might do. Oh wait, you use this one on the third floor, don't you? I remember. And we will leave it there, I think, for this episode. I don't want these ones to be, like, overly long. I want these ones to be more palatable. Also, I have to do a lot of talking in these ones as well, so... my throat starts to hurt a bit more quickly. But I think next time we're going to go through the fire escape and head over to the other side of the apartments. So I look forward to seeing you then. Bye bye.